recently released your Cars Commerce Industry Insight Report that kind of sums up the first half of the year, and there were some pretty interesting trends that you pointed out. The data is showing that new vehicle inventory has kind of doubled over the past 2 years, but average sticker prices have remained stuck, above $50,000. What's going on there?
It's crazy. Consumers are paying about $11,300 more for a new car than they were 5 years ago. And the challenge is that we really don't see much relief there. For about the last 9 months, the average new car is at 49,106, which is just a tremendous amount of difference compared to 5 years ago.
Yeah, unthinkable in those days, and yet here we are post-pandemic, and prices are staying high. But you also noted there's some increasing availability of vehicles priced below 30,000. I'm curious, what's the big driver there?
So really that is restocking, because at one point vehicles priced under 30,000 were about 38% of the market, and it actually fell as low as 11%. We're back up to about 14%, but that still is way down from what consumers may be used to seeing when they go shopping on a dealer lot. So they may experience some sticker shock. We are seeing recovery in those vehicles under 30,000 in terms of supply, but it's still really, really scarce.
We've heard a lot of automakers, especially coming into this year, talking about, really having to adjust their mix. When the chips were scarce, when vehicles were scarce, it's like, hey, we're only going to make the biggest, most expensive vehicles. We're only going to make them fully loaded, top of the line versions, but trying to get more, of the base models and more of the smaller cars. We've seen, Nissan's really tried to push it with the Rogue and the Kicks. I mean, they had some misfires on the Rogue, but that's been a lot of this, at least partial recovery we've seen.
Well, we are starting to see, as we're starting to see some adjustments for what manufacturers are building. And again, in part because, we had the chip shortage, then we had the UAW strike. We really had some headwinds facing the industry. Now we're starting to see manufacturers filling back in, making some more available, making more affordable products available to the consumers to really recover as we move and try and get sales back up to where they were pre-pandemic. So again, it's all really about recovery at this point.
Yeah, it gotten to where it was pretty standard, 17 million, which, when we first met a couple decades ago, that was an unthinkable number. And then it became commonplace. And now it seems like it's out of reach, but maybe that's just the, Toyota trying to get some inventory back, and just the pricing level. The prices are so high.
Prices are so high. Sales are about 15.9, we're thinking, for 2024. We'd love to get over that 16 in the next couple of years if we can. But right now, there's when you look at high interest rates, when you look at the economy overall, taking on a new car payment can be really challenging for a lot of consumers. There's always good deals out there. And so we absolutely encourage people that are shopping, obviously, to come to a site like cars.com. You can do a payment calculator. You can find, go through the inventory that's available at your local dealership. So there are deals out there. You just may need to shop a little bit more than you would have done, again, maybe 5 years ago.
Well, luckily nowadays we have more technology tools to do that with.
Exactly.
I want to pivot to the used car market, and it does seem like used car prices have been a little more responsive. Prices, per 1,000 miles on the odometer have come down a little. Is supply and demand a little more reactive there?
We have seen some improvement in what is available on the used car side. And just for perspective, so last year, per 1,000 miles, people were paying about $516. They're paying about $486 now. So a little bit of an improvement. But again, pre-pandemic, we were at like $374. So, it's a big difference. But all of our charts kind of, they sort of move along, and then all of a sudden you see this big spike, and then they've started to ease a little bit. Still not back to where we were, but certainly an improvement in, say the 2021, 22 timeframe. I think 23 was the start of the recovery. And now through the first 6 months of 2024, we're definitely seeing some easing and improvements.
You know, growing up and in my earlier days covering the industry, it seemed like, the new market and the used market were pretty distinct.
Mm.
And through the economic turbulence of this last half decade, it's gotten a lot more fluid. Prices go up and people switch to EVs or switch to used vehicles, and then they get depleted and prices go up there. And now, it seems like there's a lot of people pivoting back and forth, a lot more flexibility among consumers.
So actually on cars.com, we've taken out that filter of new and used. You don't have to decide anymore. To your point, you can just shop for what you can afford or what's at your local dealer.
This is the type of vehicle I'm looking for, the brands I like.
Exactly. So you're going to get a mix of new and used because we have found that is better suited for how consumers shop and how they use the site.
Interesting. So the other thing, your site is such a bellwether, a mirror of the society and what's happening in the economy. We've seen EV sales growth, slow quite a bit this year, but it looks like maybe you're seeing some renewed interest in EVs in terms of searches.
We continue to see growth in interest in both new and used EVs. And total searches for EVs year over year are up 47% on the site. They're up about 17% for new EVs and over 54% for used EVs. And part of that is because we're seeing really a change in availability of both new and used EVs. Also, we're seeing a change in stocking availability. So before, the industry was largely dominated by direct to consumer brands that didn't offer the opportunity to go and look at the dealer lot, go shopping for a car, test drive it. You had to pre-order everything. So now, because we've expanded mass market offerings as well as luxury offerings, a more traditional inventory stocking is available for consumers. They can now go to a dealership, look at the car that they want, test drive it, and really check it out. And then, of course, also they can look at a used EV, which again is something that wasn't really available 5 years ago.
It was interesting to me, in new vehicle registrations, Tesla's still the leader, but their market share has fallen to less than half. The field has now caught Tesla, but I see that the top 5 used EV searches on cars.com are all Teslas, including the Cybertruck at number 2. I didn't even think Cybertruck owners were supposed to be selling them yet.
Don't tell Elon. So our AccuTrade, which is our used vehicle valuation service, we as part of the calculations and the valuations that we do every day in the thousands, we do watch wholesale auctions, and we attend them virtually, and we make adjustments on those prices. And we have seen Cybertrucks coming through the wholesale auction as well. So it is happening, but there's still a tremendous amount of interest for that vehicle. Out here in Southern California, we see them all the time. And it's just crazy. But yes, Tesla continues to dominate. And you know what? That's okay. I mean, look, it's, when you think about the barriers to electric vehicle adoption, one of the biggest issues is charging. And with the advent of, being able to charge really almost any vehicle at a supercharger, that has increased adoption. So when you think about, we're trying to lower emissions, we're trying to, give consumers a less expensive, or, certainly less maintenance on their vehicle. An electric vehicle is a great way to go. So, yes, even the Cybertruck is out there available for on the used car market.
I'm sure there's a lot of people searching for it just to see what the prices are like and maybe hope that they could find one that is somehow affordable.
Well, and in May it was $143,796. So that
That's
was
a lot for a used
that's
vehicle.
for a used Cybertruck.
Before I let you go, Rebecca, I want to get a sense. I mean, what is your feel for the auto market in the U.S. and kind of what's your outlook on the second half?
So I think that we're going to continue to see these incremental improvements in the consumer shopping experience. We're going to see some relief on pricing, certainly improvements in availability of vehicles, because again, last year nobody knew if you could find the car that you wanted. Now you can find that vehicle. So there's a sense of relief in terms of consumers saying, I can go to my local dealership and I'm going to be able to find the car that I want. And we'll continue to see that through the end of the year.
Rebecca Lindland is Senior Director of Industry Data and Insights for Cars Commerce. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me on, Jamie. Great to see you.